Okay, so over the last 48 hours, we have witnessed the complete and total disintegration of MIBR CSGO. After a parade of abysmal results, after months of frankly cringeworthy Twitter drama, after the conviction and banning of their coach for cheating, the final nail in the MIBR coffin has been hammered in. Okay guys, before we go any further with this story, I gotta remind you to subscribe to the theScore Esports YouTube channel if you haven't already. We publish videos pretty much every single day, and if you don't want to miss one, best thing to do, hit the subscribe button and turn those notifications on. Do it. Now, back to MIBR. 48 hours ago, the org officially released Taco, Fur, and their player manager dead. Taco and Fur obviously being 2/3 of that two-time major winning Brazilian core. The next day, Colin announced that he was stepping down from the active roster, saying in a statement posted to his Twitter, quote, "I'm not satisfied with the recent decision. Last weeks have been tough and challenging, and that is why I'm asking to leave the active roster while I think on my next steps. This time will be necessary to find my essence and return the peace I need to decide my path while I accomplish my contractual obligations. The only thing I'm sure is this isn't where the game ends for me." End quote. And there it is. In just a few days, a group of legendary players who once ruled the world of Counter-Strike have been kicked off or left MIBR, with KNG and TRK sitting there wondering what the fuck just happened. Now, obviously, these moves did not come out of thin air, but where do you even start when you look at the history of MIBR that led to this point? I mean, 2020 has been a disaster for the organization, on and off the server. But first, I think we have to remind ourselves just how big of a deal this team was when they originally launched 2 years ago. Made in Brazil was a legendary Brazilian CS brand brought back from the dead by North American esports organization Immortals, and they signed the then SK Gaming roster, including the core, the major winning core of Fur, Fallen, and Coldzera. All players at that time still considered very skilled and very dangerous.
Nós fomos criados no Brasil.
They just had so much hype going, and it really felt like a major coup, not only for Immortals, but for Brazilian CS. But if you look back on it all now, the amount of notable first place finishes they had in those 2 years, you can basically count on one hand. Now, granted, 2018 did have some bright spots, and so did the beginning of 2019, but the second half of that year, things start to slope downward, especially when you consider they failed to make top 8 at a major for the first time since some of these guys were on Keyed Stars in 2015. And in 2020, that slope goes full vertical. Now, there were a few glimmers of hope at the beginning of the year, and I stress glimmers, but just when you think things might be starting to look up for the team, the shit show summer of MIBR begins. First comes the Furia drama. Back on June 16th of this year, MIBR and Furia are tied 12-12 on Inferno during the Blast Premier Spring. Fallen legs out of the server, and MIBR get extremely pissy about Furia agreeing or not agreeing to replay the round. They take to social media and cause a toxic shitstorm, calling Furia shit and basically insinuating that they only agreed to restart the round because of social media pressure. Now, all of that sounds silly, stupid, kind of funny at times, and it is. But you have to remember that we're dealing with a Brazilian CS fan base that is very passionate about their teams, their players, and their esport. And that means that things can get out of hand really fast. Analyst Chad Burchill, appearing on the HLTV Confirmed podcast, put the seriousness of this situation in context pretty well.
Those kids, could you imagine like how fucking horrible that must feel to be in the middle of a game, right? And have that turned on you, right? These people that you once fucking respected the shit out of turning on you in the middle of a game that it's your fucking job, right? And then after the aftermath of all of this, like the tweets that came out, like Fur calling them shit. I don't think he's calling them shit players. I think what he was trying to insinuate was they were shit people for not. The take I took from the MIBR account was they didn't think that Furia were being men and that they were being fair play. But this is a job with hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line, and they're trying to be professional about this, right? Leave it up to the admins, leave it up to your coach. Like, this shouldn't be a conversation of, hey, let's of course there should have been a restart. Of course there should have been, but this is in the middle of the game. And these kids, I could see how frustrated they were after it. They were all losing it. They were all losing it after. They didn't want to be in the server anymore, right? They didn't want to be there playing anymore. And it really fucking got to me, man, because I don't understand, like, how they can do that and then not apologize.
Just a week later, things got even worse after a game against Chaos Esports. And if you're interested in diving deeper onto this controversy, well, we made an entire video on it. Click right above my head to check that out. But the TLDR here is that 2 individuals on Chaos Esports Club were accused of cheating. And members of the CSGO community at large, including Colin, dogpiled on those accusations. And that implicitly weaponized toxic elements of the Brazilian CS fan base. Hundreds and hundreds of abusive messages, including death threats, were blasted at members of Chaos Esports Club, including a 16-year-old player named Leaf. It was really fucking sad. Oh, and that happened at CS Summit, an event that MIBR completely bombed out of, coming last in their group and failing to even make it to the bracket stage. Now, between CS Summit and ESL1 Cologne, the team moved to Europe for the 2020 online version of Cologne. And if you thought MIBR's results were disappointing before, let me take you on a bit of a journey here. It starts with MIBR getting blasted out of the water by G2 Esports, losing 16-2 and 16-4 in an 0-2 match at Cologne.
Just showing dominance. This is his map, and this is G2's half. 11-4, MIBR looking like a shadow of their former selves.
After which, more drama erupted on Twitter between Chaos Esports Club and MIBR fans. Then MIBR get booted out of Cologne by FaZe Clan. After which, they start taking L's from teams like Forza, Copenhagen Flames, Mad Lions with no Bubsky, Gambit Youngsters, plus a bunch of teams that, frankly, you've never even heard of, like Wisla Krakow, Pact, and Galaxy Racer. And these results are quite simply shocking when you consider the caliber of talent that MIBR had on their roster. Some of these players have achieved legendary status. They have major trophies on their mantles. Trophies, plural. Now, if you're asking yourself at this point how things could get any worse, how about MIBR coach and manager Dead being among those revealed to have cheated using a coaching spectating bug, resulting in a 6-month ban from ESL. By the way, we do have a whole video on that subject, so if you're interested in diving deeper into the CSGO coaching scandal, go ahead and check that out. Fast forward to just a few days ago, and all of that is academic now. As for what's going to happen to the remaining players, well, KNG took to Twitter to voice his dissatisfaction with MIBR's decision to kick Taco Fur and Dead by saying on Twitter, quote, "I do not agree with the changes in the team. Unfortunately, since I joined here, it is changing lines all the time. What, in my view, does not help the development of the team." End quote. TRK also retweeted that, so read into that as you will. When it comes to the now departed core of Fur, Fallen, and Taco, only time will tell. But you want to believe that they're not a fully spent force yet. You want to believe that guys who have more major trophies than Nico, Simple, and Guardian can still hang competitively. Maybe not to the degree they did in their glory days, but after the last 4 months of disappointment on and off the server, honestly, anything would be an improvement. 2/3 of that. How could things? Well, guys, end of the video, coming at you from my new house. Yes, that's right. I've been on vacation for 3 weeks. I've been away from theScore for 3 weeks. Big reason for that is me and the missus bought a home. I'm in it right now in a temporary shooting space. I've actually got a whole new one built out upstairs. It's just not quite ready for prime time yet. But it's been a crazy 3 weeks, man.